I wish she could put it on in a more attractive way so it didn't look like the slasher came after me. But I hope it will be, I found out that it was successful because at the moment I can't see a thing. So great hope for this afternoon. When you see me at dinner, I should be lots happier. Welcome to the December 2025 All Residents Meeting and the final one for the year. Before I go any farther, please check on your phones and silence them and turn them off so we don't hear music in the middle of the phone, of the meeting. I want to give a special welcome to anybody who is attending this meeting for the first time. We have anybody here for the first time? Welcome so much. Barbara, is that someone from your building?
No, I'm building C. I just happen to know.
You happen to know him. Well, what is your name?
My name is Kurt Job, J-O-B, like job, and please don't call me Job.
Okay,
Job.
Curtis Jobs, like Steve Jobs, the, okay, wealthy relative.
Oh, I wish.
Welcome you to the All Residents Meeting and to our community. Hope you'll enjoy it and have as much fun here as the rest of us are having. This is a meeting that happens monthly, usually the first Wednesday, and I hope that we'll make on the first Wednesday after the first Thursday, which is when we have Residents Council. And so hopefully you'll watch your calendar in Green Horizons and elsewhere and join us every time that we come together. Okay. There are many people to thank, and so I want to take a few minutes to do that, to thank them for their time and energy that they have contributed on behalf of all of us for this year. And I want to start out with the agenda so you know what's coming. There we go. So we're going to welcome, I'm going to give my reports, then Jerry's going to speak on the Team Member Appreciation Fund, Arlene is going to speak on some scoop from culinary, Basil's going to talk about FlyCraft, and Ann will speak on both lifestyle and FAC, the FAC information. So that's what's coming. All right, so here I am back again, and I'm going to start by thanking the Elections Committee under Carolyn Toll's leadership that guided us through an election series this last time, which was more detailed and more careful than we've done in past years. And I want to thank all of the members listed here and Carolyn, who is at a doctor's appointment, so we can't thank her right now. But if we can ask these people, if you're here, if you would stand up so that we can give you a round of applause. There's Carol and great. Thank you so much for guiding us through that. Also, let's see, Carolyn is an appointed chairman, and there are other appointed chairmen that served us this year that do not serve on the Residents Council, but I want to recognize them as well. I want to, if you would be willing to stand up, I would like to thank Joy for her work on the bylaws, and Stan for his work on the electronic communications, and for doing both history and FAC. If you will stand up so I can thank you. And both, let's see, Dee at the library, and Sue Orth, there she's waving at me, Sue Orth at the Resident Service Award, and both Basil and Celine for Brady Wilkins. If you wave at us, if you're here, there's Basil. Okay. And Jerry for Team Member Appreciation. Again, this is an important position. You'll hear more from her. and Basil for FLACRA as well, and then also Debbie McNamara, who is our new representative on the Sable Point Homeowners Association board, and that is a huge thing for us. With the amount of homeowners association dues that we pay each year, it's really important to have someone there shepherding our actions and being sure that we get anything and everything from our money that we can. So, thank you to all of you that are the appointed chairman. And now, I will move on to the outgoing 2025 Residence Council members. And if you are here and will stand, Carol Parker for B, Diane Raslewski from Building C, and also our outgoing Resident Council Secretary, Richard Levine from Villas 2, and also Richard served as Resident Council Vice Chair, Steve Cassetta as outgoing Finance Chair, and Larry Herbert as Health and Wellness Chair, and Ann Blair as Lifestyle Chair. So turn the page. Then I want to welcome our new 2026 Resident Council members. And if you will stand and stay standing, I would appreciate it. Kathy Slavey is going to represent Building B. Nancy Kenny, Building C. Jerry Evans, Villas 2. Don Eskin, Finance Chair. Lynn Esco, Health and Wellness Chair, and also Resident Council Secretary. Richard and Phyllis Levine as Lifestyle Chairs. Okay. Stay up. Thank you. Then all together, here we are. If you are going to be moving forward onto the 2026 Residence Council, having served this year, would you stand up and join our new council members? That would be me, Barbara Grossman, Joy, Sam Peck, Stan, Jerry, Arlene, Steve Gus, and Susan Craig. There. This is your Residence Council for 2026. Thank you for the time and energy and experience that you will contribute over the next year. Okay. Upon completion of the election, excuse me, the 2026 Residence Council held its first meeting in November to elect officers. And so these are your 3 officers for 2026. I am continuing as chair. This may or may not be a good idea. But I said yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Susan Craig will be our vice chair, and Lynn Esco is our new secretary. You will recall that I mentioned and spoke about at our November All Residents meeting the fact that there was an upcoming LifeSpace Board of Directors meeting that I would be attending as our designated resident representative, a requirement under Florida Statute 651. I did so on November the 18th, virtually, because there was concern at that point about flights, availability back and forth between here and Dallas where the meeting was being held. So I attended virtually with Jim Horstman, our executive director, and Missy Gail DaCosta, who is currently the administrator at the Oaks, but will be our new assistant executive director the 1st of January. You can imagine my surprise when she was in the room, and I said, "Missy, why are you here?" And then I was told that she would be our new assistant. Okay. Communication is not always our strength. Have you noticed that? Okay. I have prepared a written report that's been distributed to the resident council members, and it's available to any of you, and I'm happy to send it if you'd like to see it. I'm going to give you a few highlights of it right now. It was in two parts. First, what had been accomplished in 2025 as a corporation, and what the goals are for 2026, again, as a corporation, of which we are a part. Remember, we are one of 15 or 16 communities, can't ever keep track, across the country. And so we're a part of the puzzle, but we're not the whole puzzle. All right. Most of the meeting was conducted by Jesse Jansen, who is the LifeSpace president and CEO, and he reviewed the mission, the vision, the values, and the strategy basis for all of the strategic plan for 2024, 2027. They are team member experience, resident experience, financial and operational excellence, and to amplify the mission. Okay, so he discussed the progress on each of these today. One of the things in staff member appreciation is that the turnover rate has reduced down to 23%, which is better than industry standard. I would guess if you looked here, ours is even better than that. In that we have people that have been here with us for 30, 35 years. In resident experience, the survey that we all took rated the likeliness to recommend the community to family and friends at 59%. This is an improving trend as you look over the community of the corporation, and if it is 51%, that's considered best in class among our CCRCs. So we are above best in class in willingness to recommend. Donna, you want to come sit? Okay. The operational focus was on culinary, and across the various communities there are now quarterly tasting events, the all-in-one dining option that we have here, greater focus on hospitality, offering cooking classes for residents, and increased training for the dining staff. The operational focus on lifestyle included experiential living activities, and I'm going to tell you, the slide they showed us for an example had somebody skydiving. I thought, that's about as likely here as kayaking, but across the community, the corporation, who knows? No, I've lost my place. Additional technology services with cloud security, cloud and network upgrades, community tech bar, and the 24/7 tech support, TV and Wi-Fi upgrade, and AI productivity tools. We know that not all of those have permeated our experience yet, but this is what they're working on, and it will come to us eventually. Okay. Financially, there are 7 of the communities that are 100% independent living occupancy. Across all of the communities, it's 87%, which is below the budgeted amount of 88%, but close. The occupancy level in higher levels of living is 92%, which is above budget of 90.5%. And of course, we contribute greatly to that with our 100% occupancy over in the Oaks. Okay. Let's see. In new and expanded business opportunities, you have heard Jim talk, I think, about expanding LifeSpace personal services so that these things will be available not only to our residents, but out to the community as private pay, generating a revenue stream that is not out of residents' pockets, but out of the community's pockets, so we like that. Okay. And then in revenue growth, There is potential to buy another community. Apparently, they've reviewed 75 communities in 2025 and selected one of them as a possibility to add to the portfolio. It is in Albany, New York, which would be a new state for us as well. And it currently has only independent living residence units, and there are 191 of those. So not quite as big as us, I don't think. It was built in 2002. So that was the highlight looking backwards. Looking forward, the goal is, as always, to be best in class of CCRC providers, to reach 90% occupancy across the company, to achieve operational excellence, to pursue and invest in expanding business opportunities. In the area of team member experience, all communities currently have executive directors that positions are full, and there are new assistant executive directors in 6 of the communities. In team member experience, there is a 3% average salary increase across the board, and they're doing right sizing of paid time off. I don't know what that means. And increased training and development opportunities. For residents experience, as we've all heard here, there's an increased focus on lifestyle activities and focus on culinary and technology improvements and developing a new residents onboarding experience. Goal for, let's see. So, as you've already heard, Sue, is it getting faint? There. The 2026 rate increase ranged from 3.5 to 4.5 across the community, across the corporation, and there was a median of 3.9. So we were in the class for the smallest increase. The budget includes overall reduction, Steve will like this, overall reduction of support center expenses by $1.3 million, and a reduction of unfunded support center costs by $4.6 million. The projected move-in of new residents across the corporation is 457 this year in 2026. And across the corporation, there is a 16% increase in the lifestyle budget. Finally, for us, the highlights of the capital budget include addressing the building exteriors, building the outdoor complex, and remodeling the kitchen. That is my last sentence. The 2026 rate increase for BOTG, the flat rate, as you know, is 3.5% for IL, 4.5% for assisted living private pay, and no increase for memory care or skilled nursing. The disadvantage to doing it that way is that there was no opportunity to review material in advance to ask any questions, and there was no chance to face-to-face with support center staff or board members or DRRs from other communities. So that was the downside of this meeting. But I did learn a lot, and I'm happy to talk more with you about it if you are interested in more detail than I just gave you, which may be more detail than you ever cared about. Okay. Now we'll move on to goals and accomplishments closer to home with the report by Jerry Evans of the Team Member Appreciation Fund.
We did, friends. We did it as a team. We did it together. It was absolutely amazing. And I can't thank you enough. As Sue was going through all the thank yous, that's all I could think about. I started the week with a great thank you as my Packers beat the Bears. And I thought, ooh, that's a good, I'm sorry to the Chicago fans, but you know. And I thought, well, that's really a great way to start the week. And then it has just continued to build. This morning from 7 to 8, there were several volunteers who were at the Oaks and also in the multi-purpose room, handing out thank you cards, and I wish I forgot to bring one, handing out thank you cards and introducing themselves, as well as talking to the staff members who came. I was so impressed with the way it was handled in both locations. Missy was there, and she went and made sure that the servers came, that the kitchen help came, that all the nurses and over the shift change, it was just beautifully done. And Liz was so kind to bring over and have everything set up. Yamali helped her with that, and we had coffee and tea and pastries. And so the folks would swing by, and of course they were on their way to work or on their way home after the night shift, and that's why it was so early. But I want to thank all of the volunteers who worked this morning, this afternoon, from 2:30 to 3:30. The employees have been invited to the Heron Club. It was going to be in the multi-purpose room, but needed to be shifted to the Heron Club. And again, there'll be some volunteers there to say thank you, and I think this afternoon it'll be sweet and salty snacks. And then we're going to do it again on Friday, both at the Oaks and in the multi-purpose rooms from 7 to 8, and the Oaks and the Heron Club from 2:30 to 3:30. We hope by that way we can thank every volunteer and every employee who received the bonus. What was probably the greatest joy was that I did not realize that today, because some people do have early pay, and I didn't understand that. I thought Friday was the check distribution day where they could see their bonuses. But instead they were handed an individual letter that told them what their bonus was. And I've never seen so many thank yous, I've never seen so many tears. I just can't tell you what a successful campaign really meant to everyone that received a bonus this morning. That's 309 people. So I want to thank you again and again. And you see that number 135, 778. Let me just push, the next slide. And I use the word team because I think of all of us as a community and a team. We did it. 108.6% of our goal. We distributed $135,778.10. Actually, we kept the 10 cents for next year. And that was divided, as I said. We already have people who have given, those who came after November 28th, we could not include it in this year's distribution, but we already have seed money of $15.15 to begin next year. And then, this morning, I had one more fabulous news, and we can add $600 more to that amount. So together, so far, and who knows, that box is still there, there still are envelopes, and if you didn't contribute, there's still a chance to do that before the end of the year. But that would bring us to a total of $137,903, and that pesky 10 cents. And that would be over 110% of our goal. I can't thank this community. At this moment, that equals about 61% of our residents. And what that means, people can say, oh my gosh, or we can say, what an opportunity we have for next year. But we want to thank, you know what I didn't thank, and I am so sad, and I'm looking at this beautiful faces. I would love my committee to stand up. I've never had such a hardworking group of people. There's Jill Kroom, Sherry Mauer, and Christy Fairclough and we have team captains for each of our events today and on Friday, and we already had some volunteers. We took a picture this morning of our new member, Milt Cross, and he said, please take a picture and publish it. He said, no one will believe I've ever been up this early in my life. We're doing all kinds of fabulous things, and watch for some of the pictures in the Green Horizon, because they are people just are grinning from ear to ear. Thank you.
It shows that setting a reach goal or something that seems so out of possibility can become a reality if we just know where we're headed. So thank you for setting that goal for us, and for all your team members for helping all the little tiny ways. All of a sudden, here were these envelopes, and here was this and that, and that's what it takes. So thank you so much for giving us so many opportunities to give as we like to do. Okay, Next, I will invite Arlene up to tell you something exciting about culinary. That's what your slide looks like. So that's all I said.
Okay. All right. Coming in mid to late January, tentatively, a new dining concept in the Sable, which is the room between the Palm Court and the PDR, the private dining room. This is to cater to residents who would rather eat later. It will be open from 6 to 8, no reservations, first come, first served. It will be open Monday through Saturday, with the exception of Thursday, which is the chef's table. This will give residents another option for dining. The menu will be the same as the Palm Court, except for a different chef special. It's another option for dining. It's been requested and we're trying to put it into effect. We will try it, we will see how it goes. That's what I always say, give it a try. If it doesn't work, go back to square one.
How many will it seat?
The other thing that I would like to address, what, where?
How many will it seat?
Oh, it will only seat for 8, 12, 24, 2 6s and 3 4s. That's all. And if you come and it's full, you'll have to sit wherever in the Palm Court or the Heron Club. So again, give it a try. That's all we can do. The other thing I want to address is this whole brouhaha about servers and their hours. First of all, I've gotten a couple of emails. I've tried to clarify. I've talked to Jim. No one is losing their job. When they come and complain to you, please don't encourage the complaints. They need to talk to Liz. Okay, here is what I can tell you. This will apply to next year. It's the rumor that the hours are increasing to 21 hours per week. This will apply to next year. 21 hours means with benefits. Those that are working 16 hours will be fine. They just don't get benefits. This will go into effect January 1st of 26. Who changed the rule, or rather enhanced the rule? LifeSpace, enterprise-wide. Any further questions on this, Jim will address at the town hall meeting in December. I forgot the date.
I think it's the 17th.
Okay, the 17th. Again, servers need to speak to Liz. You as residents don't need to encourage the complaints because it's all taken care of. That's it.
Any questions about the upcoming dining? I'm excited about it because the volume will be a little less and the lights will be a little lower. It'll be a little bit more of an elegant feel to it. And while I don't intend to do it every night, I'm gonna do it at least once a week. And even though it will make me miss Jeopardy, because I know I won't be out of here by 7 o'clock. But it will be, I think, a great experience, and I'm looking forward to it. Chef George and Liz have been fully involved with the planning of it, so when we say 6 to 8 and everybody goes, 8 o'clock, Well, they're all on board with making that happen, so that's a good thing. And there are dedicated servers in there that will be serving on that time frame, just that room. So that's a good thing too. Emery?
If hypothetically you get down for the late dinner at 7:15 and it's completely full in there, you wouldn't have access to the other places, would you?
The good year.
Will, if the Sable Dining Room, which is what it's being called, is full at the time he arrives at 7:15, is their service still available in the Pop Court and the Heron? Do they serve that late? Joe's Pizza. That's a great question. That's a great question, and we will get that answered. Are there others about this? This is what's so helpful about bringing an idea to you, is you can help us see where the holes are. Because we've tried to fill all the holes, but you guys have good eyes for that. Anything else you can think of? Okay. Then we will move on and have Basil bring us up to date on FLAGRA. There's a lot going on.
Okay, just a few opening comments. What I'd like to do today, there has been a lot of activity, as you've already heard, but I'd like to do a couple things today. I'd like to bring you up to date on what has happened with the work group. That's the first thing, for our first group, the work group I've been a part of. Secondly, I'd kind of like to introduce you to a new invigorated FLAGRA chapter here at the Village on the Green. So we're going to do that at the end, and I got a special treat, a surprise treat in the evening, at the last thing I do, so don't leave because we got a great treat for you. I've spent an awful lot of time on this. You know that, I've told everybody to listen to me about that. But you might ask why? Why all the furor about the legislation that governs CCRCs here in the state in Florida? And the reason is that we've had some bankruptcies, and there was one article that found its way to the New York or the Wall Street Journal, and in the Wall Street Journal there was a lady named Cohen, and Arlene Cohen at age 89 had sold a home, moved into the unit, and the unit went bankrupt, and basically she had a refund in her contract of $710,000, which turned out to be less than a third of that by the time the courts finished the bankruptcy procedures. That found its way into the Wall Street Journal, got a lot of attention. Secondly, we had a similar situation in Tampa there, and I won't repeat it, but it's essentially the same thing, and people lost the ability to get the refunds and the treatment that they had signed up for. That was answered by the industry, by Katie Sloan Smith, who is the CEO of Leading Age, and she pointed out that yes, those were factual cases, but the bankruptcy rate is about 1% for the whole industry. So the track record is reasonably good, but when it happens to you, if you're part of that bankruptcy, it's important. And last year, many of you will remember that we had an effort that FLAGRA put together in response to a bill that the Office of Insurance Regulation promoted to change to 651. The Leading Age component, the industry, the providers, had a Kill the Bill program going on, which was successful. At the end of the day, we supported, with we being FLAGRA and we being Village on the Green, supported that with an effort that responded to a call to action that the FLAGRA head office put out. So that's the why. The why is that people are concerned about the bankruptcies, the position of residents in bankruptcy courts, the ability to have a financially viable unit, where that doesn't happen. That's why we're doing that. Now, what are we doing? I wanted to start this slide before I talk about the timeline with what the FLICRA team was charged to do. We had a team that started in March of last year, 5 members from the resident side, I was one of those 5, and 5 members from the leading age contingency. All 5 members of the leading age group were all CEOs of various units, including Westminster, which is the biggest one in the leading age Southeast world. So they were a powerful group. And we're right now in the final throes of that. We spent, I've personally spent probably 10 to 15 hours last week on either calls or prepping for the calls or reading stuff that I was asked to read. So it was a heavy week. And we're down to the point where we're arguing, is this going to enter the joint legislation that we hope to introduce, or is it not going to go? Can we not reach a common goal on that? So, but the FLICRA thing, first of all, wanted to look at, the FLICRA group was charged to look at management companies. 60% of the CCRCs that are in the state are managed by a management firm. Village on the Green was once run by a management firm called LCS. But also we have big subcontractors which are also substitutes for management. Our biggest one here is the Unidyne contract. And we feel like we need greater transparency into those contracts because they have such a terrific impact on our residents. The second item is they were hopefully able to raise the preferred status of residencies during receiverships and bankruptcies. This is likely to find its way into the legislation. The third thing we were going to do is to talk about defining the governing bodies. Now, this really hasn't been a problem for Village on the Green, but many organizations now are separating the management and operations of the facility, of the property, from the management of the operations of the culinary and the rest of the operations. Not a big problem here, but it is in some places. And finally, financial transparency, which our finance committee can tell you a lot of if you'd like to look. We feel like the financial transparency should also be addressed. Now, what are we doing? I have my handy dandy clicker here somewhere. Oh well. If you go to the left side of that timeline, you'll see that we've been in business, or that the legislative calendar for next year has been published. And it started with 21 November where we had to have drafts turned in. I suppose somebody turned in a draft. I really don't have knowledge of that. But the next thing that will happen is the final drafts must be turned in by 9 January. You probably recognize that's not too many days away. And with the Christmas, New Year's holidays coming up, that will be a tight suspense to meet. But the regular session convenes on the 13th of January. And the last day of the regular session, and this is important because the committees are quit on that day, will be the 3rd of March. Finally, on the 13th of March is the last day of the session of the Florida legislature this year. The reason it's moved back is because of the election, so it is an early session this year. Now, what comments do I want to make? First of all, the target is to get a proposed draft of the changes from both FLICRA and the leading age providers can coalesce on. The problem with that is there's some topics we probably can't do, so I'm not sure exactly how that'll come out, and even if that does emerge, there may be some separate activity by at least the resident side of that. The second thing is that the units last year, we had this call to action and we generated a lot. Do you remember how many? About 60 emails?
65 emails.
65 emails from here. So we do want to activate residents. The big thing on this is we're all voters. If we have a stake, and we have a stake in this legislation, and as it goes through, we want to be able to participate. So the reason I'm telling you about this now is that we've got about a 90-day window here to do whatever we're going to do. It will be, and so we're going to begin that process tomorrow at 3:30 in the multipurpose room. But our objective is to get as many residents as we can interested and knowledgeable about the issues and the reform of the 651 legislation, bottom line. Okay, what have I learned? Well, the first line says it all, really. The making of approved legislation is a long and tedious process. You know, at the dinner table, it seems so simple sometimes. You know, why don't they do this? Why don't they break checks that require this bit information? But getting a bunch of people together to agree on it is an arduous and tedious process with conflicting interests that I never thought was so grave as I think now. What the problem is, the reconciling differences when where common ground can be reached, and that's the positive way of saying sometimes it's almost impossible to get a common ground. So some things just are too hard. FLICRA and Leading Age both have boards of directors. No wonder how brilliant the work group is and how much they coalesce together on. The boards of directors will have the final say, both on the resident side and on the industry side. The next thing, the Office of Insurance Regulation now has a draft which they've floated to certain people. I haven't seen it, but it has been floated. And so the regulator wants a voice in this as well. So it's just not the industry. It's the industry, the regulator, and the residents all competing for what this might look like. And Florida legislatures also have a view of this, and they have committees charged with this. So it's a big making a sausage. You've heard that image before, and I think it really is true. Okay. Now, I'm going to stop there for a minute and tell you, and I don't intend to take questions. We could talk about this, I think, for a long time. But we'll begin the process of how we, as a Village on the Green and as a FLICRA organization, enter this tomorrow afternoon at 3:30. And we invite you all to be there if you have time. But right now, I want to clear up something that has been a real problem for me. And that is who and when and how do people become members of FLICRA? Now, this is an instance where we have a wonderful gift given to each resident. I mean, wonderful gift by people who came before you and worked for the Foundation Advisory Organization and that have an interest in resident welfare. First of all, in the future, I'm just talking about how it happens today and how it will happen in the foreseeable future. When you move in, the move-in information is being provided to FLICRA headquarters. You see, your membership is not here at Village on the Green. You're a member of a statewide resident association. The membership rolls are kept in Tallahassee. And so far this year, we have provided to Tallahassee, FLICRA, all the members that have moved in, along with where the units, their mailing addresses, their contact numbers, everything that the resident application requires. And with that move in, you're recorded at FLICRA, and you have full access. You're fully members within 30 days of probably your move-in. That's being reported quarterly right now. Now, what happens at the end of the year. And this is a good month to talk about the end of the year, right? At the end of the year, when that is tallied, so far we've turned in 21 move-ins. We have 6 people that potentially can move in this month. We don't know who they are yet, but they're in process. Once we get the final numbers, those numbers will go in to the data bank. But they'll also go to the Foundation Advisory Council, who will then give you your biggest gift, I think, ever. They're going to fund your first year's dues for FLICRA. So everybody here, you don't have to do a thing, and you'll be a member of FLICRA when the month you move in, or pretty close to that, and then you'll get the next year's dues paid for. So if you moved in 2025, you're in the data bank when you moved in. You get your dues paid for 2026 by the Foundation Advisory Committee. But next December, a year from now, you'll get a bill. Terrific bill, a heartbreaker. If you're an individual, it's $22. If you're a couple, it's $37. And so that bill will somehow be lost in your monthly bill for December. Hopefully you'll be enthralled with FLICRA and you'll pay the bill. Then Becca and her magic trick box down the hall will send you what they've collected from your bill in for the 2027. So that is the area I want to ask. Is there any question on that? Does that make sense to you? It goes in within the month of you moving in. You're on the rolls. You can have full access to all the FLICRA stuff for that year. End of the year, we'll pay the dues for the next year. That comes out of the foundation, the LifeSpace Foundation, the local Financial Advisory Committee funds that. And then finally, in year 3, you get the opportunity of paying the bill, okay? So, any questions on that? Since you all understand it now, do us a favor and try to keep that word out. There you go. Now, I want to introduce the team. We had a wonderful meeting on December 3. Those of you that have been active with resident committees and councils and things of that nature know that sometimes it's difficult to pull a bunch of people together and to get them to charge, just like Jerry experienced on the team member appreciation fund. Really, it comes together. Well, we had a FLICRA experience of that on December 3rd. And I'm going to introduce the members of that. In addition to myself, which I've been doing that for a while, I want to say Bill Stu and ask him to stand up and stay standing, because I want you to know the whole group. Bill, would you stand up? Scott Purcell. Scott, if you're here, he's the longest standing member of the FLICRA group. We want to ask Betty Monsaval. I hope she's here, because she's a member of this as well. And Roger Creveling. Roger, where are you? Steve Cassetta. Steve. Okay, let's give.
And Lloyd?
Now, I see you're wrecking my surprise. Because now we're going to turn off the slides for a minute. And I'm going to ask Lloyd to come up to the podium and take the microphone. There's no slide for Lloyd, but he gave a stirring challenge as a fairly new member of Solid Village on the Green and a fairly new member of the FLICRA group that I thought you all ought to hear. The floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I do have a few things prepared, so forgive me for referring to my notes, but I was pleased and am honored to be able to speak to you as we did in our committee meeting. And thank you, Basil, for encouraging me to pass that on in our committee's behalf. Thanks for asking me to pass this on. Well, as you already know from Basil's opening remarks, Village on the Green FLICRA Committee is serving as your advocate and liaison to the wider statewide efforts of the Florida Life Care Residents Association. We intend today and throughout this year to engage you actively. You've already heard Basil speak to that point. It is urgent that you understand how essential protecting our financial investment is in this community, and that FLAGRA is the organization statewide that helps us to accomplish that. You and I, the collective we, deserve to live more securely and confidently with knowledge that we will, in fact, receive the quality long-term living and care benefits that we have been promised. The fact is that all CCRC communities do not succeed. Some in Florida and around the country, as Basil has shared, have failed. And in going into bankruptcy, thousands of lives have been disrupted unfairly and, in some cases, catastrophically. We at Village on the Green owe it to ourselves to be informed and to be vigilant in advocating for consistent and increasingly robust state-level legislative action that creates the fiscal and contractual protections for CCRC residents. We who live here cannot rely on our ownership group to undertake self-regulating actions to ensure our long-term financial and service security. Please join and maintain your membership in our FLAGRA sub-chapter here at Village on the Green. With approximately 200 units here, we may not seem enormous, and yet when our chapter's voice comes to represent 100% of us, because we are all members here and we participate, we will stand out as a group that has a voice and have the capacity to bring legislators here on our site to speak with us about what we're both advocating for and we're asking of them. It is also strengthening our representative voice as we promise to keep you well informed and to engage in high-impact 2026 statewide advocacy and legislative initiatives. The next 3 months of 2026 are critical in accomplishing the objectives that Basil has been representing us for statewide. We thank you. I'll thank you in our committee's behalf. Please become a member and be an advocate for yourself and all of us. Thank you very much.
While we're on the thought, Sue,
Please go ahead while I try to figure out how to get the PowerPoint back on the screen.
Sure.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Do we have any idea what percentage of residents are members of?
It's almost 100%.
All right.
People do, I probably should have covered that. When you get that bill in the second year for the next 27, for example, you can opt out. You can say, I don't want to be a member, I don't support this, and then the bill's erased and you're a free member. But we have a relatively strong,
But we're automatically.
we're trying to make it automatic. Yes, Joey?
Do you have a detailed list of the things, specific changes or rules or laws that you want to make in order to protect people? Do we know? Because you say you want us to send emails, so we need to know the details. So we can send-
And we'll have to feed that, Joey. That's a good point. Joy's saying we don't really know what legislation we're going to be commenting on. The bill has to be in process, under consideration by a committee, and us be on the docket to talk for that to happen.
But can't you also make recommendations to the committees of what you add to the bill?
With that window, it would be very difficult. We have to almost have our positions before the session comes to be, and we get on the agenda for the legislative session. remember the first bars on that, the drafts have to come in first in November, then they had to be finalized in January the 9th. And that creates the agenda for the legislation. So that's when we find out what the documents are gonna look like, because they'll be all fed into the legislative session by then. That's my understanding.
Okay, does the legislature have committee hearings that you
Yes,
attend?
yes, and in fact, on those letters we wrote last year, the 64 that Sue was talking about, they went to specific chairmen of committees. We usually address them to the committee chair and all the members. Any other questions? Yes. There's an awful lot to FLICRA, and I don't know. So if I skip some things, one of the things Steve just pointed out is we get a rebate from FLICRA for part of the dues. I happen to know that Scott Purcell, who's our Secretary Treasurer, just received a check from the FLICRA headquarters for a few $100s. It's not big money, but we do get a little bit. So if we want to invite a representative to come here and speak to our residents, and I'm trying to get Bennett Napier, who's the executive director of FLICRA, to come here toward the end of January or February to fill us in, let us have a shot at him. And so we need to have those kind of events. At Legacy Point, they had our local representative there a few months back. So, and while I got the floor, are you ready to go?
We are.
Well, let me make one more comment. And then,
Only one sentence.
let's see, how can I do this? How can I do this? I left out Barbara Snyder and Don Eskin in the introductions. Both of them very important, but I just flipped over. I was too anxious to get the lawyer.
It's going to take us on forward lifestyle.
And now for lifestyle, for December, the most beautiful, spiritual, and celebratory time for us. And I want to say that the Lifestyle Committee, headed by Maris, has worked so hard to put together events and things for us without treading on the time that we want for ourselves and our families too. So, as you read this, we've got on the 16th, the semi-formal gala is 4 to 6 in the Palm Court lobby with hors d'oeuvres and wine bar, plus from 6:30 to 8:30, the candlelight concert quartet here in the Longwood Room. I can do this looking this way, can't I? On the 17th, Wednesday 17th, is the holiday market where we'll have gifts and stuff to enjoy for the season. That's 1 to 4 in the Longwood Room. On the 22nd through the 24th, Monday through Wednesday, there'll be holiday music, live entertainment, snacks in the lounge area with music by Beth Thompson, a cellist, Alex, a guitarist, and Nikki, a vocalist. I've got that backwards. And Philippe, a pianist. Now, what do I do to get this going? Thank you, I need so much help. Then, of course, on Christmas Eve, we have the Christmas Eve service at 3 p.m. in the Longwood Room. And on the 31st is this huge New Year's Eve dance party from 7 to 9 in the Longwood Room with desserts and wines. No RSVP required. Just come and enjoy it afterwards, okay? So those are the social events of the season. And I want to say a couple of things. We noticed a couple of names omitted on the birthday list this time in the December Green Horizons. Phyllis Intro's birthday is the 23rd, and June Bryant is on the 31st of December. What a date. And so I want you to know that if you find that something like that, any little discrepancy, please just make a quick call or an email to Maris or your New Lifestyle committee chairs, the Levines, for 2026. They'll make the adjustment. Maris is trying to go through to find out exactly how we have these errors. They appear to her as a big list, but somebody generates this somewhere. Anyway, we're all striving for perfection, so that's, you can do your part and help us along with that. There'll be a blurb in the coming packet that Maris puts out. As you know, we get the Green Horizons once a month, and then we have a packet update each week. So these little packets will clarify some of these little discrepancies as they come up. Yeah. Okay, now FAC, the Foundation Advisory Committee. As you learned from Basil, I think one of the most important things we did this year was to resurrect the process of covering the membership for all new members. That was something that was done here at Village on the Green once upon a time. I don't remember when it fell off the radar, but it did. And I consider that one of our biggest accomplishments. Our job as the Foundation Advisory Committee is to monitor all the funds that come to the foundation and make sure they're spent in the proper way for residents at Village on the Green. That's our money, it comes to us, and it gets done that way. And we're the committee that monitors the process. The Memorial Pool Chair was one of the things that's still in the works. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I believe that's just waiting on the development that's going to be going on the property after we finish the entryway. We'll start on the back fun stuff, the playground, and the pool chair will probably be part of that update. And that is in honor of Al Porter. I believe this was in 2024 that he passed away. Well, the fact that we did the fact, yeah. Our final approval, Jim was all for this, and the FACT committee came up with the idea, mainly because Sue Godone had brought it up in a plant committee meeting several months ago, and then she fell down, and I had her on my mind, and I thought we just need to do something about doing trees here at Village on the Green. Anyway, Jim thought it was a wonderful idea, and we've got that approved as an initiative to do in 2026 to help raise money for trees to replace what we've lost during reconstruction over the past couple of years. And what we'd like to do is, you could have memorial trees, family trees, and have an idea. Of course, we need to find out what trees are pertinent for this landscape and where they're going to be placed. So this isn't going to happen overnight. This is what we propose to do as a FACT committee in 2026. And then I might want to add that as we speak, we have a visitor today on campus. Lacey, I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name, it's LaPointe or LaPointe, anyway, who's the new Life Space Foundation Director of Philanthropy, Vice President of Philanthropy. She should be here getting about noon, and hopefully a few of us will be able to have lunch with her. That'll just depend on the schedule. Okay? Oh, now the Team Member Appreciation Fund I have on mine. I just want to thank Jerry for that outstanding, the collection for the team members. It was just absolutely, Jerry in action is just not to be believed. And it's a big part of what is part of the Foundation Advisory Committee. So we're very, very proud of that too. Thank you.
We're So thank you all for coming, and I'll look forward to seeing you in January. January the 7th, I think, is our next all residents meeting. I'll be a year older by then, but I'll also be able to see you. So looking forward to that. We are adjourned.